This is my guest's bathroom. Now imagine the workshop. Ladies, gentlemen, greetings, and welcome to the Kinetoscope Parlour, where we meet strange and wonderful people. I'm your host, Baron Celsius von Fahrenheit, and today we're meeting Roger Wood, the artist behind Klockwerks. Welcome to the Kinetoscope Parlour.
Thank you.
First of all, can you tell us what Klockwerks is exactly?
Well, Klockwerks, basically I collect a lot of stuff at flea markets and thrift stores and junk barns and any other place I can scrounge up stuff, and I make them into these handmade, one-of-a-kind, whimsical timepieces. I also make a lot of steampunk themed things like ray guns, jetpacks, lamps, anything to keep me busy and out of trouble.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this full-time since 1999 when I started doing a big wholesale craft show in Philadelphia. Before that I was just doing a lot of part-time work, part-time teaching, design work, anything to pay the rent. But that show allowed me to just drop everything else and actually make sort of a living full-time. And
did you study that craft?
No, I just basically self-taught. I just learned through basically trial and error, and some of the best things I learned were from making mistakes.
What you do is not a very common line of work. How did you get to that career?
Well, this is my third major career. So I started off as a heavy construction field engineer, which is roads, bridges, dams, tunnels. But I got tired of freezing my butt off in January outdoors. And so I got a degree in interior design from Ryerson. I ended up doing corporate office planning for maybe 10 years. That got pretty boring after a while, but in the meantime, evenings and weekends, I was making things just to satisfy this creative urge. And gradually I shifted to part-time work and more time making things. And then, as I mentioned, in 1999, I did this show in Philadelphia and able to do it full-time.
And did you hear about steampunk before you started or afterwards?
I heard steampunk maybe about 10 years ago, but I was doing steampunk-related themed things long before that, and I just originally called them the Jules Verne series.
Which goes with steampunk.
Yeah.
And do you have a typical customer, a typical buyer? What kind of people buy your creations?
I don't meet a lot of the final buyers because a lot of my sales are through shops and galleries, but the few people I have sold directly to, they come from all walks of life. Everything from doctors to mechanics to plumbers to other artists, you name it, and they're interested.
I'm now gonna ask you what every steampunk, including myself, want to know. Where do you find all the parts? You mentioned flea markets before?
Well, I'm a very curious guy, so I do thrift stores, I do auctions, I do eBay, I go to electronics stores, secondhand stores, yard sales, dumpsters, any, even art and craft stores, surplus stores. I'm always looking for things, and it's a fun part of the job. I spend about 15% of my time just sourcing the raw materials to work with.
And what's the weirdest thing you've used as something else?
At the moment, the weirdest thing I can think of is this old copper sprayer. I think it was an agricultural sprayer, so something that they would have strapped on their back, had a pump handle in front, and a hose to spray something. I don't know whether it was fertilizer or pesticides or what, but anyway, it turned it into a steampunk jetpack, and it looks great.
And what's the thing that you've created that you're the most proud of?
That's an easy answer. It's a big, huge piece, about almost 8 feet tall, and I created from a model of the astrological clock that's in Strasbourg Cathedral in France. And the model itself I found at the flea market, and it must be at least 100 years old. I can tell by the hardware and the thickness of the wood they used in it. Yeah, and so I bought that, and at the flea market I must have looked at it about 5 times, walked away, came back, said it was very expensive, so I had to really think about it. And then I must have had it about 2 years before I finally figured out what to do with it.
So I guess all that's left is your geek question. So I'd like to know, if you were one of the people from the show Big Bang Theory, who would you be?
That's a tough question because I can identify with all 4 of them, and even with Penny too. So I look at these guys and I can say, yeah, I can identify with that characteristic and that part of Leonard and that part of Sheldon, and yeah, so it's one of my favorite TV shows.
So you're a little bit of everyone.
Yep.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being interviewed.
Well, that's all for today, folks. I'm Beryl Celsius von Fahrenheit, telling you to stay weird, and I'll see you again at the Kinetoscope Parlour. Hi everyone, Alex here. Hope you liked the episode. I'm so glad this one's finally out. I've been planning to do an interview with Roger since before the show even started. I always knew I wanted to interview him because he's such a great steampunk maker, and once I saw his workshop I knew I had to feature that as well because there's just so much cool stuff over there. But he lives 7 hours away from where I do, so it was complicated setting things up, and then I had the computer problems some of you might have heard, and professional changes, a lot of projects lately with steampunk and other things. So yeah, it took a while before this one was out, but I'm glad it finally is, and I'm really happy with the result. The show's probably gonna keep going at a slower pace for at least for a while, because I still have many projects. Not the least of it, my wife and I are buying a house, so you can probably already see boxes over there. So yeah, that's gonna keep us very busy, but I'm still working on the show. I'm still already working on some future episodes, but yeah, it's gonna keep going a little bit slower like it was like in the last year. But yeah, more's coming still. You'll just have to be a little bit patient. So yeah, that's about it. So I'll see you around.